Welcome friends. If you recall, in the last video I showed you how I imported the database that we had on gender-based violence to our Excel environment. So this is the database. Then we are now going to use all the skills we've learned in Excel on how to analyze data to answer all these questions. What are the questions? You can see from here we want to confirm that the total number of reported cases from 2015 to 2023 is 1,949. Then we also confirm that the total number of male offenders is this, which represents 88%. The total number of female offenders is 233, which represents about 12%. Then we also confirm that the average age of victim is 13, while the average age of offenders is 24. That's what we want to confirm now. So we now have to employ all our Excel skills to do that, to get that done. So let's go back to the database. So this is the database that we got. So first of all, looking at this database, you can see that from the ID section here, this column, this numbering is not starting from 1, it's starting from 27. So we have to correct that. But so how do we get the total number of records that are here? So I will start by deleting everything that is in the ID section and renumbering it in the proper order. So I will click here, I will tell it to delete this column. I will reinsert it again. I'll call it ID. Then I will type the first two, number 1, number 2. Then I will hold on to this 2, then drag this handle down to the end. So once it gets to the end, I will now release my mouse. So the system has done proper numbering, and you can see that the total number of records here is 1,949. 1,949, which is similar to what we got here. So that's correct. So the next thing we're going to do will be to find the total number of male offenders and the total number of female offenders. To find the total number of male offenders and female offenders, I will go to the column that has something to do with gender, and that is represented by FF here. So you can see we have male, the M here represents male, while the female is represented by F. So I will check this column to be sure that there is no empty space. So how do I do that? I will use an Excel function counter. So I'll type counter equal to counter J1 colon J1950. So, and I'll press enter. So the system counts and tells me that the total record is 1950. So there's no empty space on this column. What the counter does is it counts the number of cells that has record, excluding empty spaces. So empty cells. So now there is no empty space. So I can work with the total number of. So now that I know that there is none inside, then I can get the appropriate record for those that are male and those that are female. So how do I do that? I have to use frequency distribution to know the total number of offenders that are male and the total number that are female. So how do I do that? So I'll go to insert, then I click on pivot table. So what is the range of the entire cell? Is from A1 to, this cells is from A1, to the range of cells stops at V1950. So I will do just that. So I'll specify the entire range. So I'll type A1 colon V1950. Then I'll click OK to open in a different sheet. So all the column headings are here. So the first one I'll pick will be ID. Then I'll pick the column that has something to do with gender, and that is FF. So I'll specify that here. So after specifying that, you can see the female and the male. So I'll right click on any of these cells and click on view field setting. I said count this. So the system now counts and tells me that the total number of female offenders is 233, while the total number of male offenders is 1716, making a total of 1949, which is exactly the total number of records that we have. So from here I can calculate percentage. So what percentage of these are female? So here I can type percentage as a column. So find the percentage of female offenders. I'll type equal to this value. Okay, let's undo that again. I'll type equal to bracket opens B4 divided by B6, which is the total, times 100. Enter. So the system tells me that the total percentage of female offenders is 11.9. That's about 12%. For this, I'll type equal to B5 bracket opens B5 divided by B6 times 100. Enter. System tells me that this is 98. So if you sum it up, you see that it will give you exactly 100%. So 88% of the offenders are male, while about 12% are female. So we can confirm that from here. So we've gotten the total number, and we have seen here that 88% of offenders are male, while about 12% are female. So all this has been taken care of. So now we want to find the average age of victim and the average age of offenders. So this column here represents the EE here represents the field for the offender's age, the victim age, while the HH here represents the field for the offender's age. So this is the victim, this represents the age of the victim, and this represents the age of the offenders. But if you notice the way these numbers, this age was captured, some places are, ages were not known, and some you can see between 3 and 5 guesswork. So here 30 years. So the age is not following a particular format. The same thing here too. So again, the first thing we need to know is, are there empty spaces here? The empty spaces, are there empty spaces? So we can use counter to confirm if there are empty spaces in there. So here I will type equal to count, then bracket open. This column is I1 colon I1950. Enter. Sorry. Colon I, this is I, it's supposed to be I1 colon I, that's what I want. Press enter. The system is telling me that the total number of records here is 760. That means there are empty spaces. So we don't have so it's telling me that there are some, so the value is not really as complete as we would have loved it to be. But what we're going to do is we are going to now work on this column to retrieve some numbers to work with. So you see what I'm going to do now. I will just clean up this. I will copy everything from this row. I will copy from here. Then I will open to a different sheet. Then I now paste this here. So I'm going to convert this to just numbers. So for me to convert this to numbers, for example, places that we have unknown, I won't specify any value there. So I'll call this E. Don't forget I said this one represents the age of victim. So I'm going to rework on this because I need to know the ages in numbers, so that, or integers, so that I'll be able to find the average, because the question was to find the average age of victim out of the whole lot. So what do I do here? So I've gotten, so don't forget that the total number I have is still 1950. So places that I have nil are not numbers. So how do I retrieve numbers? I'm going to use artificial intelligence to do this. So the section of Excel that will handle this AI artificial intelligence field or function is flash fill. So you find flash fill from data menu, then flash fill. So I'm going to tell the system what to do. For example, here I said you return 21 here, return 14 here. So I'm training the system on what to do here. Return 18 here, return 23 here, then here return 10, here return 10. Then when you see a string or a character, don't put in anything. Here put in 30, here don't put anything. Then when you see between 3 and 5, put the lowest number. Then here do 22, then here do 35, then here do 23. Then when you get here 30 years, just do 30. So I've trained the system on what to do. So what will be the next value? I will just click on flash fill. The system automatically fills in the other ones for me. So you notice what it has done is I've trained it. This is artificial intelligence being applied in Excel. So the system has automatically retrieved all the numbers, and places that you have null values or nil, it will just give an empty space. So like this here now, it was specified as an adult, so it leaves a space there. So this is how we can apply artificial intelligence into your Excel function. So once we have gotten all our numbers, then of course we can, if you like, we can create a border around here. I can just do a border around here. Then I can sum it up, though it's not really very compulsory, but I just want to make it look nice. So I'll go to Excel, then I'll go to where we have borders, and I said draw border around here. So from here I can add up all these values. So I'll just say auto sum from where to where? From I'll do from B2. Auto sum should be from B2 colon B1950. So let's see whether it has enveloped everything. So it has enveloped the whole numbers there. So it will sum up this and it will return a value. So this is the value that we have. So we want to find so this is what we have gotten as our value. So now this is the total of the ages that we've been able to retrieve. The total of the ages that we've been able to retrieve from what was inputted. Now, in the real sense, if I'm supposed to find the average age of this, it's expected that I'm supposed to do something like this. Cell is B1951. So I'm supposed to do something like equal to B1591 divided by the total number of entries. The total number of entries is 1950. B, so the total number of entries is 1549. Then this value is B1951. So this is what we're supposed to do. So if I do this, I will have 13.4. So this becomes the average age of the student. But don't forget, if you do this, then that means we'll be assuming that all these null values here are 0. So one other way is to count the number of cells that really have values and take the average, because now I'm just taking the whole thing all together. So let's count the number of cells that really have values here. So if I do equal to counter, then I open here and now say B2, between B2 and B1950, the number of cells that have value. The same is telling me that the number of cells is 1364. So now I'm supposed to multiply this by this number to have a total entry. So if I do equal to this divided by this number, then this is what I'm going to have. So what's the difference between this and this? This now, the 19 years, which is now the average number of victims, represent the specific records that were entered here. So the system counts the total of these records and it now divides by the total to give us 19.1 years. But if we decide to divide this total by the total number of records, irrespective of the fact that we have zeros here, then we'll have 13.1. So you can see that this value it's a minor, they are minor. So we can say, well, out of 1950, we're able to get entry for 1360. So what percentage of this entry has value? So we could do something like equal to this, bracket opens, this divided by the total. What is the total? 1950 times 100. So we have 69%, about 70%. So what it means is that 70% of the record has specific age that was directly entered as the age for the victim. 70%. And out of this 70%, if we work with this 70%, we will now have an average age of 19.1. But if you are taking 100% of the cases, irrespective of the fact that a lot of the entries do not have values, just like here, most newspapers specify that they are adults, so no entry was done, or some, like where you have nil, there was really no specific value that was inserted. So if you are taking 100%, irrespective of the fact that most of the cells are null, then we will have 19.8. So now you can see, even if we want to take an average between this and this will give us something like, so I'll take the average, this plus, okay, so I'll do bracket opens this plus this divided by 2. So the average is 16.2. So if we're not taking 13.4 and we're not taking the 19.4, then we can take the average value of 16.2. So, but whatever it is, you can see from this system is telling us that the average age of victim is 16.2. So let's confirm what was reported. So when you come around here, you can see that the average age of victim is 13.4. So this was the value that was taken when it was 100% of the cases was taken into consideration. So let's now look at the average age of offenders. So I'll go back again to the original document. Now the age of offenders is represented by this column. So I'll take this column. This is a column for average age of offenders. So I'll copy everything from here. Then I'll open a new sheet. And from here, I will paste this. Now, in this case, can we also train the artificial intelligence feature in Excel to handle this? There are too many non-uniform entries here. So a lot of work will have to be done. So if you can try repeating the same thing to see what we can get. So, but if you're not able to get that, if artificial intelligence is not able to interpret this and extract out all the numbers, then the other way to get this done is to do a manual entry, manual addition. So I would have loved to, let's see. So if I are training it, so I would have loved to do hash, let's call this hash. So what I've done here is to fetch out all the numbers that I want. You can see I've typed 45 here, then here I picked the lowest number, then here I left it empty, and I'm still going down empty. And so if I decide to stop here, then I'll now go to data and tell it to do flash fill. You see the system is still bringing back the same thing. So that means it's finding it difficult to really, I've not reached a point where the system can clearly understand what to do to retrieve the number here. So because of that, I'm going to, so if you continue down, you get to the point where the system will understand the pattern and it will automatically insert that for you. But for now, what I'll just do will be to paste what I did manually. So I'm going to retrieve the data, where was it? think it was somewhere here. So I'll copy this. So after a lot of work, I was able to fetch out these numbers which I'm going to bring here. So this is what I got at the end of the day. So um, when you're doing the data analysis, there are some decisions you need to take in order to get the value you're looking for. So you can see here between 27 and 27, I just picked the lowest one for now. And then so here, and these are all null values. So this is what I've gotten. So I can also decide to put a border around this, not absolutely necessary, but I can do that. So I'll go to insert and add a border around it. Then from here, I can also find the total amount. What is the total of these ages here? So I'll click on auto sum. Auto sum, what am I adding? I want to add between B, colon B, B1 to colon B 1950. B1 to colon 1950. Let's confirm what I've gotten. It's supposed to be B2. B2. So I'll change this to B2. Then I'll press OK. So the system adds and tells me it's 44,888. Now, again, I will find out the total number of entries here. So I'll use counter to do that. Counter, bracket opens. Within that range, we have B2, colon B, 1950. Count this and tell me the total number of cells with entry. So the system tells me that the total number of cells with entry is 1496. So I will now divide this by this to have my average. So if I now type equal to this value divided by the total number of entries, that will give me an idea so you can see from here my average. So you can see that the average number of offenders, the average age of offenders is 30 years. But if I decide to take the whole number, that is, if I decide to take the whole number, irrespective of the fact that there are empty columns here without ages, so if I decide to do equal to this divided by the total number, which is 1950, 1949 actually, 1949, the system gives me 23.3. So here you can see that I have, so if I'm taking the 100% of the entries, which is 1949, and I now use it to divide by this total number of ages, I will have an average age of 23.0. But if I take the total number of entries that I got and divide by this, I'll have 30. So whichever way, so we can conclude that the age of offenders, the average age of offenders is between 23 to 30 years ago. Well, we don't know what these other ones would have been, but it wasn't entered appropriately, so we cannot really predict. But for now, so we can say the maximum is around 30, while the maximum average is about 30, while the minimum is 23. So we can see the youths are really involved in this. Of course, we can find the average between these two. That will be this equal to this plus this divided by, so I'll put that in bracket. I'll put this in bracket. So let's do again this, bracket opens, this plus this, bracket close, divided by 2. So that will give us 26. So the average age of we can also conclude that the average age of offender is 26. So let's see what was taken here. So 24 point that was taken. So that's basically how we can find the average age of offenders and the average age of victims. So what do we deduce from here? What we can deduce from here is that this violence, the average age of offenders, from here, the average age of victim is 13, while the average age of offender is around 26 years, 24, 26 years old. So the youths are really perpetuating a lot of violence. So we can ask the question, what is happening in the society that is pushing the youths to go into a lot of gender-based violence? We've been hearing a lot of cases about money ritual and the rest of them. Is it the urge to get wealth overnight? Is it lack of jobs? So those are the things we need to really look at. So to answer that question too, this problem may be localized. Let's also answer another question. Which state do we have the highest number of cases happening? So again, I'm going to pull out, so I'll go back to the data. So we look at the state. So this is the state that we have. You can see that this column talks about state. So I'm going to copy the whole of this and paste it again. Then we now analyze the state using frequency distribution. So I'm going to copy this. So I'm copying this state. We want to see the distribution of these cases in different states. So I'm opening to a new sheet. Then I'll now paste the state. So we want to count and really know the number of states that have the highest and the lowest cases. So let's use our frequency distribution to find the number of states that have the highest and the lowest cases. So here, this is an abbreviation. I can change this to states. So how do we do this? So we go to insert, then we click on pivot. We click on pivot table. Then what is the range? The range is the entire table. So we take from A1. So we set from A1, A2 colon A1949, A2 colon A1949. That's what we have. Then we click OK. So let's see what we have. Let's confirm the where it stops. Okay, we have 1940. So we have to undo that. So I'm going to close this. Then I'll go back again. So I'll go to insert. Click on pivot. So A1. So I'm going to put this in a new sheet. So it's A2 colon A1950. 1950. I'll click OK. So this is how it opens in a new sheet. So from here, I can. Okay, so let's look at this table again. So I was able to, you can see I was able to retrieve the values for all the states, but I want to put a serial number here before I do my frequency distribution. So I'll right click here and say insert. Then I'll type serial number. I want to number it. I'll type 1, 2. Then I'll select this phase 2. I'll drag the handle down to associate the serial number with all the states that I have here. So this is how I want it to be. So you can see the last one there is 1949. So I'll now go back and reinsert my pivot table. So here I will select the range. The range should cover both the serial number and the states. So I will do A1 colon B1949. That is what I've chosen. Then you should insert in a new cell. So when you click, this is what you have. So you can have these two fields here. So I'm going to bring out the field for serial number. Then I'll bring the field for state. This is exactly what I want. So now that I have the states here, so I can right click on any of these values. Then I click on value field setting. Then I'll tell you to count the number of states that brought out that total. Then you can see that Abia has 4 cases. And if you look down, you see that Zamfara has 10. And of course, Lagos has the highest value, which is 459. So based on this now, I can plot a graph with this. So how do I do that? If I highlight these states, I can highlight these 2 states and plot a graph so that we can see using histogram or any. So I'll go to insert, then I'll go to histogram, pick up any one, and click here, it automatically plot the graph for me. So you can see visually, I can now see clearly that Lagos has the highest case, and follow, you can see the value there, then followed by Ogun State, FCT, and other Abia has the lowest case. So these are things we can now really interpret. What's happening in Lagos? Why do we have the highest case here? What's happening in Abia? When we went to Lagos and asked this question, why do you have so much gender-based violence? What we were told was that thousands and thousands of people flock into the states every day, and they don't have jobs, they're looking for what to do, the frustration and all the economic hardship. This is pushing people to do all kinds of things. So visually, they can really see the distribution in each of the states. So the government now can really know where to concentrate on to start to curtail or to nip this violence so that it doesn't become get to a point that is uncontrollable. So we've been able to use Excel function. What are the functions we've used? We've used count A, we've used frequency distribution, we've counted numbers, then we've also used the handle. I showed you how you can do the serial number, if you recall, how you can automatically insert serial number into your table. Then other Excel formulas really have been used to get this done. So you see, we spend time studying all that, so you will employ them as we're getting on to do more. So the next thing we can also do is associating these with the political zone. So how do you do that? So a video of that will come soon. Thank you for listening.